again, and welcome back to this week's episode of Can I Just Say podcast. Let's get straight into the astrology update. So we have a full moon in Sagittarius tomorrow, Wednesday, the 11th. This full moon is the strawberry full moon. Now, Sagittarius is a mutable fire sign. It is the sister sign of Gemini. We are currently in Gemini season, so as I've mentioned before, the full moon is always going to be in the opposite sign of whatever our sun zodiac sign is in. So this time it is in Sagittarius, which is a mutable fire sign. Sagittarius is ruled by the planet Jupiter, which is all about growth and expansion and good fortune and things like that. So this is going to be a very lucky and very prosperous full moon for us. And Sagittarius is kind of the fire sign that's just like, it likes to take all of those what ifs that we're thinking about, like, oh no, what if worst case scenario happens? But Sagittarius is more like, well, what if the best thing happens? So it's going to be encouraging us to let go of some of those fears and the things that hold us back. So let's get into this week's episode. This episode might be a little bit uncomfortable. I mean, the past few have been with the Shadow Work series, but it might also be deeply healing because we're going to talk about triggers. And I want to start by saying, if you've been feeling triggered a lot lately, it doesn't mean that you are broken or that you're behind. It means that you are human. And maybe it means you are standing right at the door of something powerful. We're here to learn from what our nervous systems are already trying to tell us. You've probably heard the word trigger a lot by now. It gets thrown around in ways that sometimes dilute its meaning. But here's what I've come to understand about triggers. They are emotional responses to a situation that activates an old wound. We tend to look at triggers as problems, so something to avoid or something to get over. But what if triggers are actually teachers? What if the things that make your chest tighten, your voice shake, or your stomach flip are actually pointing you to places inside yourself that are asking for love? It's not about the moment itself that's triggering. It's the meaning your body assigns to it, often before you're even consciously aware of what's happening. Triggers are portals. They are like sacred mirrors. Uncomfortable ones, yes, but powerful ones. I've had moments recently where I felt like I was being pulled right back into the past. I reopened a connection that I thought had kind of run its course. And at first, it felt like progress was being made. Like we were connecting in an old kind of familiar but brand new way. But then bam, right back into the dynamic that I remembered and what made me sort of create that distance in the first place. They said something to me that felt so familiar, so sharp and judgmental. And in an instant, I was back in an old version of myself, hearing the same insults from a different voice. I felt judged and misunderstood. I wanted to shrink, to stop talking altogether and just disappear. And at the same time, I also wanted to be bold and say that's an unfair judgment of an older version of me. I did defend myself a little bit, but I was talked over, which is a repeating pattern that I've noticed. And in that moment, I realized this person isn't actually listening. They aren't ready to meet me in this space. They're still relating to an outdated version of me. So I turned inward and I asked myself the hard question. What is this moment showing me about what still hurts? So this is the practice that I want to share with you today. Triggers teach us by showing us the places we haven't yet felt safe enough to heal. They push buttons we didn't know were still active. They bring to the surface unprocessed pain and childhood memories, deeply embedded beliefs. They reveal parts of our story that still need a voice, that still need compassion and integration, and they show us the map. Sometimes that map leads back to places we thought we'd already healed. Like when someone accuses you of being too much, and suddenly you feel like that little kid again that's being told to stop talking, or to calm down, or to be quiet, easier to love. That doesn't mean that every triggering moment is your fault. It doesn't mean you deserve to be hurt or disrespected. It means your body is sending a signal that says, hey, something about this is familiar. Pay attention. I try to meet that with compassion because I know that not only am I still learning and growing, but the other person is trying to learn how to express themselves as well. Sometimes our triggers reflect not what we've done, but what we believe about ourselves. If someone tells you you're too much and it stings, it might be touching a part of you that was told to dim your light or to quiet your voice and stay small. On the other hand, if someone accuses you of being not enough and you get defensive, it might be because you already carry that doubt within yourself. Recognize that the other person is projecting and most likely not in a place to hear your rebuttal. It's easier to correct someone else than it is to sit with our own unmet goals. You both deserve compassion, but that doesn't mean that you can't remove yourself from that conversation or that situation. It is better to communicate that you need a moment before you continue the conversation than to allow yourself to have your boundaries overstepped. They can't learn this new version of you if you don't introduce yourself as who you are now, not who they remember you to be. This episode is not about shame. It's not about blaming yourself for being reactive. It's about learning how to notice when that charge arises and to respond differently, more gently, with more curiosity than judgment. In those moments, instead of spiraling into shame, you can pause and try this. Ask yourself, what am I actually feeling right now? What part of me is asking to be seen? When have I felt this before? And as I've mentioned quite a few times in the past, I like to use the phrase, and so do I. When I feel irritated at someone who's acting out or making a scene, I remind myself, I've done that too. And when I admire someone who's magnetic and free and bold, I remind myself, that's in me as well. And so do I. Helps me soften toward them and toward myself. It's okay to have big feelings. It's okay to not always know how to express them. It's okay if you're still figuring it out. I think the strongest version of us isn't the one who never gets triggered. It's the version that sees the trigger and responds with compassion, awareness, and the willingness to grow. It reminds us that we are not separate or better or worse than anyone else. We're human, just like they are. Now, let's flip this a little bit. We spend a lot of time talking about triggers, but have you heard of glimmers? Glimmers are the opposite of triggers. They're the tiny moments when your nervous system feels safe. When something small, like a warm light or a kind glance, a song you love, or the smell of rain, just makes your body say, I can rest here. I belong. Glimmers are just as important as triggers. They point you to what feels right. They show you the places where your soul feels held and supported and seen. The more we begin to notice our glimmers, the more our nervous system learns that safety is possible, that peace is real. And the more we feel that, the less power our triggers have over us. So here's a small practice that you can try. The next time something sets you off, pause, breathe, ask, what does this remind me of? And then later that day, look for your glimmers, something soft, small. Let your body feel it. let it land. Over time, this balance of noticing both your triggers and your glimmers builds emotional resilience. You stop reacting on autopilot. You start responding with presence. And most importantly, you begin reclaiming your energy. Every time you respond instead of react, you're rewriting your story. And if no one's told you this lately, you're allowed to take up space. You're allowed to have big feelings and still be deeply loved. You're allowed to grow beyond the old version of yourself without apology. So if you've had an interaction lately that left you feeling small or angry or unseen, maybe sit with it. Not to overanalyze or judge yourself, but to ask, what did this moment awaken in me? What am I ready to look at now that I wasn't ready for before? That's the real magic of this work. That's how we evolve. And you are not alone in that. If you're working through emotional clarity or want support in clearing energetic blockages connected to your own emotional triggers, I offer in-person and distant Reiki sessions where we can gently work through the patterns keeping you stuck and work to help you move energy, find clarity, and really begin rewriting the stories you've become attached to. You can reach me directly through Instagram or the contact link in the description. I'd be honored to hold that space with you. You deserve to feel safe in your body, safe in your emotions, and safe to take up space in the world. Let's keep doing the work together. Thank you so much for sitting with me today.